I'm with my friend Michael Goldberg, who is my go-to guy when it comes to all things networking. I've known Michael for over 25 years, and every time I'm with him, I learn something. I learn a lot from his writings. He publishes regularly in his newsletter. He is a frequent speaker at events of all types in the financial services industry. He's done some things that I find fascinating, that some of which tie back to his fascination with boxing. You can see in the background, he's being interviewed from Madison Square Garden here, right, Mike? That's where we are, Madison Square Garden.
Or the green screen that makes it look like it's Madison Square Garden, yes.
You've branded Knockout Networking. So one of the things that I know you have a passion for is taking advantage of the new technology. And the new technology is not exactly new because we've had the capability of doing Zoom meetings in different forms. There's been WebEx, GoToMeeting, Skype, but now people are starting to use this technology, video technology, in concert with a phone as part of their networking strategy. Can you give some tips on the best way to think about using technology for maximum benefit?
Well, I like to joke with my 17-year-old daughter that, make a phone call. There's an app for that. Right? So, really, there is? I didn't realize that. But it's true. So here, the phone has been at our disposal, for forever, right? Pretty much. So that it maybe rings a different tune. I know I'm on the phone more than I have been. But, we've had the technology in front of us for a bunch of years, less years on the phone, of course, called LinkedIn, called Zoom, called whatever WebEx or GoToMeeting type of platform that we use. And I think it's about being creative in terms of how we can utilize this because, we are more conditioned than ever because of this whole COVID-19 thing that we're dealing with, in that we're able to actually be in touch with more people. We're actually able to communicate with more people than we ever have if we're creative enough to look at it that way and have a plan for making some of those things happen. So, we're zoomed out right now, but this is good, right? This is really good because, now we're busier than ever, and depending on what your business is, but it's a question of how clever you are in utilizing the technology. What I share with financial advisors, who are typically my clients, is if you've never done a webinar before, now is the time to learn how to do that, as compliance might allow you to do that. Like, this is the time.
Yeah. Well, I think it's right. One of the things is you have to learn how to use the technology. So you have to practice. The second thing, you say be creative. It is interesting. You've done some things which I think are very creative to try to promote networking using Zoom. Do you want to elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, well, networking is about learning and helping, right? That's my interpretation. It's about a proactive approach to meeting people to learn and potentially help them, although often enough it can be reactive, right? But I think that when we're in this place right now where we're working from our home offices or dining room tables, it's really about taking a proactive approach. So it's now thinking about how we can be clever about setting up meetings with people. And I think one of the easiest ways of doing that, well, twofold. One is, who are your top 50 most important people, like in your business world? That might be clients, prospects, or referral partners, and reaching out to them. And this could just be a simple email to engage in a Zoom meeting or whatever your favorite platform might be. And of course, there's an app for that. It could be the phone. The other approach is LinkedIn, is now people that you don't know or don't know well that you want to know, right? And reaching out to those folks on LinkedIn and throwing a direct message at them, or maybe it's people that you're already first level connection with. And if there's a reason to engage in a meeting, and it shouldn't be to sell them business, it should be that we fish in the same ponds. We're looking to meet a lot of the same people. We do similar work, perhaps. Would love to be able to maybe get on a Zoom meeting or get on a call, set up some time where we can compare notes and figure out how we might help one another. Like, those are great meetings, right? And that's just being very, very proactive and cultivating appointments on our calendar and perhaps people that we're meeting that we wouldn't have otherwise.
One of the things that, if you were adventurous as a banker, the first step might be to do a Zoom meeting with one person, pick somebody friendly who's inclined to do it. you've also pioneered, I think, some meetings of larger groups of people using Zoom.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, one thing that I have done, which is one of my favorite things to do, is I have another organization. So I've got a speaking and training company called Knockout Networking, where I teach networking skills. But I also have another company called the Networking Group. And it actually is that. It's as obvious as a ham sandwich, right? The Networking Group. So I have groups in New York City and Philadelphia, on Long Island, New Jersey, and I'm in the process this month of launching Chicago, South Florida, and Atlanta. And if it wasn't for Zoom, I would not be able to launch all these cities at the speed that I'm able to do this. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a multitude of people in Zoom meetings and having them register for an actual networking event. And I'm facilitating this event online where I'm looking at 60, 70, 80 people on a screen. And then I'm breaking them up into Zoom rooms according to their professions and putting them in a networking activity. And what's cool is they find value out of it because I'm organizing the whole thing. It's very strategic, and they want more. So there's now a business model where they are paying a fee for me to be able to do that for them. And I'm replicating this around the country right now. So as a banker, you can just do this. You can do it with 5 people. You can do it with 10 people. It doesn't have to be 80. But it's something you can do, and it's free.
Well, I think that's a great idea. And if people listen to this and decide that this is something they want to test out, you probably would be interested in them participating in a group, and you might also be somebody that could coach them on how they could set this up.
No doubt about it. And you don't need to be the most technologically savvy person. I'm not. I mean, I know Zoom really well, but I'm not like this tech guy, But I just learned how to use the system in a way where I think I'm able to do a lot of creative things. And it's also in a position to help a lot of people that are willing to pay me to do those creative things. That ain't bad.
So I'm with my friend Michael Goldberg, who is the go-to guy in my life for anything relating to networking. Michael is a frequent speaker in front of groups. He's trained thousands of people in the financial services sector. He's written a number of best-selling books. Michael, your most recent book just came out, as I recall.
It did. It's been out for about 2 weeks now. It's Knockout Networking for Financial Advisors and Other Sales Producers.
All right, so
I would say it's in a bookstore near you, but the bookstores are closed. So when Barnes and Nobles finally gets around to opening up, it'll be there.
Well, I'm sure it's a great book. I read your first book, which I learned a lot from, and I think anybody who is in the financial services sector would benefit from picking up anything you've ever written. So I'm going to buy the book when it comes out. I'm assuming you can buy it on major online emporia like
yes,
Amazon.
You can go to the Amazon, yes, and you can get it, yes.
All right. So here's a question that I am very interested in, because even though it's been around for a long time, a lot of bankers, even though they have been on LinkedIn forever, they have profiles, some of them have lots of connections, don't really use it strategically as a way to build their networks. And I'd be interested in what you see the best of the best doing when it comes to using LinkedIn to both increase their network, but also to fortify their network.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's funny. Social media seems to be like this big mystery. Like, we know that there's a lot of people on there, right? And in LinkedIn's case, it's something like 180 million or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. We know that we connect with a lot of people. We know that we can create a lot of visibility, but the mystery kind of behind the curtain is, how do we monetize this? Mm-hmm. Right? How do we create a system around this? And so you have lots of LinkedIn trainers and experts that measure this, and at the end of the day, it's really just a big litmus test. It's really a lot of trial and error, and a lot of the trial and error has to do with how you communicate, your frequency of communicating, what your business is, what your profile looks like. I try to simplify all this stuff. I think there's 3 approaches to LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. 3 approaches. So call it my 1, 2, 3 punch to LinkedIn.
All right, so this is Knockout Networking. I
just made that up, by the way.
In the background, we got the fight team.
I just made that up. Yeah.
Okay. So give us the 1, 2, 3 punches of LinkedIn.
I'm just making this up as I go along. No, so there's so there's actually three, right? And they're all important, right? And the thing is that most people don't do all of them. Mm-hmm. So the first is posting, right? Mm-hmm. First thing is posting. My belief is you should probably post every day, not every minute of every day, but every day you should probably have a post, right? As a compliance office would allow you to. It should not be a self-serving post. It should be a valuable post. It should be a post that helps people, or it could be something that's just interesting, like a quote, right? Or something like that. So it should be something that is interesting, poignant, relevant, and valuable if you can do that, right? So I think that should happen every business day, probably in the morning. There are some that might say every other day, and that's fine, but it's not an all day, every day, right? So posting is part of it. You've got to be a presence there. Thought leader, I think, is overused, but at least some sort of authoritative figure based on what it is that you do. Let's call that a banker, right? So posting is the first thing. The second thing is I'll call connecting. Posting, connecting. Connecting is a proactive approach to reaching out to people, right? Where you're maybe direct messaging them so you can connect with people that you don't know or reconnect with people that you know or know of. And that's very proactive. That's sending a direct message that might say, hello, Ned. Hope all is well. It has been forever. Let's reconnect. My Zoom or yours. Love and kisses, right? Warmest regards, keep the left up, right? So imagine doing that 5 times a day, like 5 notes like that a day to people that are in your orbit that are important to you. That's, I mean, think about it, costs nothing. So posting, connecting, and the third component I'm going to call relating. Relating is liking posts that resonate. It's commenting, making specific comments, and tagging specific people. And that's relating is relationship. It's relating to people so you can cultivate a relationship. So imagine devoting 15 or 20 minutes a day. I don't think it should be any more than that. Every morning, and I actually have it drawn up in a daily fight plan. Like I do this stuff every day, and I have a social media component to this. And that's what I do is what should my posts be and why should my posts be that? Who am I meeting? Like, what are the 5 to 10 messages that I'm putting out and to whom and why? And the third is, who am I relating to? Like, what's going on? Who am I relating to and why? That's the 1, 2, 3 punch. Can you imagine if you do that Monday through Friday, 15 to 20 minutes a day, and it's focused and you have purpose to it, right? You're going to get more connections. You're going to have more Zoom meetings. You're going to collaborate with more people. You're going to be more networked. And I'm telling you, that business will come out of that.
And a couple of great things to highlight. One, in practicing what you preach, you do have a daily plan.
I do.
And it's built around some very specific things, the 3 things you talked about, which are, again, great things to keep in mind for people. The idea of posting, connecting, and relating. Those are 3 good concepts. And the third thing that you talked about is, again, this is about being proactive. If you think about what you can and cannot control in today's crazy COVID world, one of the things you can control is how you prioritize certain activities. And this has got to be right at the top, I'm guessing, of your daily fight plan.
It's right at the top. And I have to, let me just say this, and I want to emphasize this. This is not my favorite thing in the world to do. Like, I don't really like being on LinkedIn and social media. I'm not a big Facebook guy. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be. It's just not my thing. I just see the value in LinkedIn from a business standpoint. Not my favorite thing, but it's something that's necessary right now to be relevant and to also be targeted because it's just such a great way to scale our time and scale our connections, especially in industries that aren't really known for this, like banking. Like, I can go to my connections and reach out to bankers, and very few of them are on LinkedIn or active on LinkedIn, which means I think that there's an opportunity there. So if you're a banker that creates a process and you're very intentional and deliberate about being a source on LinkedIn and being able to cultivate the right types of connections there, that's really powerful, and that's going to separate you. That's going to be a very distinctive trait.
Yeah, I would second that. I think part of what every banker who's trying to stand out has to figure out is how to leverage these tools, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Zoom, but it comes back to, again, these words you keep highlighting. You've got to be intentional. You've got to be proactive. You've got to build a cadence around these activities. You may not like them, but this is part of the daily dose. A lot of fighters don't like to train. They don't like to jump rope. They don't like to run, but they have to.
Yeah, you got to do that. And they do it every day. Like they actually have a fight plan. So I work in 90-day cycles, right? To me, everything's a 90-day plan. And that's actually a boxer's cycle. It's usually an 8 to 12-week training plan to get ready for that fight with Mike Tyson or whomever it is, right? They have a very definitive plan where they know what they're doing, getting their road work in, they're jumping, they're sparring every single day. I make sure my road work is in every single day. I get my work in because there's some place, and it's right on my plan, 90 days. I know exactly where I want to be in 90 days, but LinkedIn is a part of that.
Great. Well, Michael always signs off with, keep your left up.
Yep, or if you're a lefty, keep the right up.
All right up. Thanks very much.